Hi everyone, welcome to my sewing studio. Today it is a beautiful sunny 73 degrees on May 23rd in Connecticut. Now that is not untypical weather for me, which is why one of my favorite things to sew for myself is a lightweight 3/4 length sleeve top. I just get so much wear out of them. So today I have two woven tops for you and two knit tops for you, all that have that 3/4 length sleeve. In addition, they all have a special design detail because if you've been following me for any length of time, you know I am all about those special design details that we can put into our sewing. And that's why I love to sew in the first place, is I can create garments for myself that you just can't find in ready to wear because they have those special creative details. So let's take a look at what I have for you today. First, I'm Lisa from Pink Holly Bush Designs, where we talk everything sewing and smocking. So let's dive in. Okay, well, the first top I have for you today is what I am wearing, and this is the Geneva blouse by Liesl & Co. It's a great blouse, comes with a V-neck, two different sleeve options. I went for the lantern sleeve, which hopefully you can see here. It just gives it, that great 3/4 length, and it's just something a little bit different, right? Which is what I love. So the Liesl & Co. top comes, the Geneva blouse, in sizes 0 to 20, and it has cup sizes, which I love as well. So if you're smaller or larger, you have those options. You don't have to do the full bust or small bust adjustments. I made this blouse in a absolutely beautiful cotton rayon woven fabric that I got from Fabric Mart in Pennsylvania, and that of course will be linked below. They do not have any more of it, but they do have some wonderful fabrics, so you want to check them out. As I said, I made view A with the lantern sleeve. Now, I cut a size 8 and I graded out to size 10, and that size fit. I'm really happy with the fit that I got from that. So changes I made to this pattern. Well, first of all, I raised the V neckline on this, only by about 3/4 of an inch, but I just wanted it a little bit higher. Didn't want to worry as I'm doing whatever and I'm bending over that I'm giving anybody a view that I didn't want to. So in order to do that, I had the paper pattern, if you have the PDF or the paper pattern, what I did was I cut the size 8 on the shoulder, and then when I went to cut the V, I actually cut the line for the size 20. Now that sounds a little bit strange, but the way the pattern's nested, the shoulders of the 20 are on the top, and then it just goes down from there. So I cut the shoulder of the size 8 all the way over to the 20 line, which brought this in a little bit more, which I also liked, and brought it up a little bit more. If I had done the 8, it would have been over a little bit wider and it would have gone down a little bit lower. Hope that makes sense. Other changes I made to this pattern. I used a French binding to finish the sleeve. Now the pattern has you finish the neckline and the sleeves with a binding, but it's a simple fold and turn binding, and I found with this soft kind of drapey fabric that I made it out of that I just really didn't have the control I wanted to, and so I liked a French binding where you're actually using double the width of the fabric was easier and gave me a nicer result. And I made a whole video tutorial on that, and I will put the link up above as well as down in the description, so you can jump over and see how I did that if you're interested in that. So the last thing I did is the Geneva blouse comes with a shirt tail hem, and I did not check the length of it before I made the blouse, which I should have, but it is very long. In fact, when I tried the blouse on, the hem came all the way down almost to mid-thigh, and I just didn't want it that long. So when I went to shorten it, I thought, well, do I really even care about the shirt tail hem? And so I just ended up cutting it straight across rather than unpicking the whole hem. I just at the side where it's the shortest, that's where I cut it straight across, and then did a narrow hem from there. That hem comes out to about, if I was going to do the shirt tail hem, like shortening it by about 3 inches. So just to let you know, if you're like me and you prefer it maybe a little bit shorter, or even if you want the shirt tail hem and you're going to tuck it in, you might not need it as long as the pattern is designed. Okay, second woven top that I have for you is this one right behind me, and this is the Sadie tunic by Style Arc. So the Sadie tunic, as you can see, is just a really simple pull over the top, but the thing that's really unique about it is just this fun little twisted cuff detail on the sleeve, and I really liked that and thought it would be fun. So the Sadie comes in sizes 4 to 30. I made a size 10 and I just did a straight 10, and I could have graded out to the 12 in the hips, so it does work, but I could use a little bit more down there. I also lengthened this by 1 inch, and that was not necessary. So again, it is a tunic length. It is a little bit on the longer side. I'm very long-waisted, so I often lengthen things by 1 inch, but I did not need it here. So if you're short-waisted, you definitely will want to check that. This fabric is again a rayon, and it is from Joann Fabrics, and it's my colors, and it's plaid, and I love both of those things. So this was, again, a fun top to make. One hand, I would say it's very difficult to iron this area, so maybe using a fabric that doesn't need as much ironing would help. This one comes out of the dryer really wrinkled, and so it does take me a little fussing and getting my pressing ham to try and get this to look good. Okay, third top I have for you is the also Style Arc pattern, and it is the Madison top from Style Arc. Now the Madison top I made in a knit, but it can be made in a knit or a woven, so that's kind of a fun thing if you want to try it. And it likewise, let me see here, it comes in sizes 4 to 30, and I made the 10 in that case, and I graded out to the size 12. Now the thing about the Madison top is it has a lot of ease in it. In fact, there's like 6 inches of ease in the bust and 10 inches of ease in the hips. And I would have been better off probably cutting the 8 and then grading out to the 10. And even up here, I really didn't need the 10. It does fit, and I was able to take it in, but I probably didn't need it there. The fabric is a cotton knit. It is the raspberry stripe from Art Gallery, and I do have some available in the shop. I'll put the link down below if you're interested in that. So changes I made to the Madison top, because of that amount of ease, when I tried it on, I actually ended up taking 4 inches off total off of the sides. So I just went back and went down from the armhole where it joins the body. I went in and took off 2 inches on both sides, sewing it together. So there was a total of 4 inches altogether that I took off of that top. So that was the first change I made to it. The second change is on the neckband. So because it says that it's for both a woven or a knit, yet it only provides one neckband piece. And so that neckband piece is the length that it needs to be if you're making the top out of the woven. And so it is way too big when you're making the top out of the knit. So the way I did that was I sewed the top together, and then I just measured the circumference and I multiplied that by 85% to get the length to cut the neckband. So my neckband was quite a bit shorter than the one that's the pattern piece included with it. The other thing is it has you cutting that neckband out on the bias, which I did just because I wanted to, got the top right here, let me show it to you. I wanted to play with those stripes, so I thought it would be fun to, you know, have the bias stripe there. But if you're not using a stripe and you don't care about that, having that design element that way, you could cut this out on the cross grain, and that would save you quite a bit of yardage. The yardage was very generous that was given with this pattern, and I had quite a bit left over even cutting my neckband on the bias. So the couple things I really like about this pattern is, first of all, it's a really easy way to play with stripes and not have to fuss about matching the stripes. So the only place you have to worry about matching the stripes on this pattern is on the side seams. Otherwise, the pieces are all twisted because it's a raglan, and then you attach the cuffs in the other direction. So you're never having to match your stripes except for those side seams. So that, and yet you have the fun of playing around with them. So I thought that was a fun thing to be able to do. The other thing about the top is there's actually a dart. I don't know if you can see, there's a dart right there in the top of the shoulder. And I used this pattern to teach a class on knits about a month ago, and one of the great things about that dart is it really lets you get a nice fit on the neckline. So the ladies in the class all you know, sewed their raglan seams together and then pulled it on, and we were able to, by pinning the underarm, we could then play around a little bit, and it was really easy to adjust, make sure this was all lying nice and flat for them. If one shoulder is a little bit different than another, you were able to make adjustments using that dart and get it really nice before you applied the neckband. So that was just something I really like about the pattern. I did also lengthen my sleeves by 2 inches. I should include that. The Madison pattern, the way it's drafted, the sleeves kind of hit right at your elbow crease, and a lot of viewers had noticed that, so I added 2 inches, and that gives me a really nice 3/4 length sleeve. Let's see if I have anything else I want to tell you about that. Nope, I think that's it. So the last knit top that I have for you is the Audrey top from Sew Over It. And I just love this top because, you know, it has a bow, and everything is better with a bow. So it comes in sizes 6 to 30. I cut, again, a 10 and graded out to 12 in the hips. And in this particular case, I wish I had cut it a little bit larger. So the Audrey top, is designed with negative ease. In looking at some of my tops in my closet and measuring them, I don't particularly like negative ease. I want a little bit of positive ease. So as I said, I cut the 10 and I basted it together, and ended up going back in, taking out my basting and sewing it with as small seam allowances as I could. So the sew over it patterns use a 5/8 seam allowance even for their knits. So I did have a chunk of a seam allowance, and I went down to 1/4 inch to just give myself a little bit more ease, as I said. So my top, the way I have it, I'm probably right at 0 ease right now. If I had it to make again, I would go a little bit bigger. And as I said, I'd still cut the 10 up at the neckline. I don't need it any bigger there, but I would grade out to a 14 at the bust and the hips rather than just the 12, which is what I did. Let's see, I noted, I think, if I didn't, but the Audrey top comes in sizes 6 to 30. The fabric that I used for that is I have it right here as well. It is also a cotton art gallery knit. I made the view with the knot tie. There's 3 views. There's one with just a plain neckline. You can do the knot as I did, or you can there's also a full bow. Now, the other change I made to this is many of the reviewers constantly noted that this neckline doesn't lay flat and there's seams on each shoulder and that they kind of poked up a little bit. So thankfully, Andrea over at Behind the Pink Door has a full video on how to adjust this neckline in her sew along for this top, and I followed that, and the neckline turned out great using her adjustments. So I will put a link to that. Definitely, if you're going to make the Audrey top, go check out her video and change the neckline. You're just changing the angle. It's really simple, and then it lays flatter for you. I was impressed that the directions for this top gives you really specific directions on what type of knit, and it also shows you how to adjust this neckline if your knit doesn't have as much stretch as they recommend, or you're using a little bit firmer knit. Now, I didn't have any problem with using the Art Gallery cotton knit, which has 50% stretch. So, okay, I think that those are all the tops that I have for you today. If you know of a great 3/4 length sleeve top that I should check out, I'd love to hear about it. Please let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this, make sure to like and to subscribe, and happy sewing.